Hi guys, thanks for coming back and joining me yet again. And thank you everyone for the comments on yesterday's video. Wedding vows, 3 times a charm, really, isn't it? I mean, how many times are they going to, Meghan especially, how many times has she said her wedding vows to various people as well? But yeah, so there I was, just quietly minding my own business, just editing to make sure I got the video out. And then I got a ding on my phone and it was obviously news reports coming up. Archie near enough burned to death in fire, Meghan's archetypes. And I just thought, what now? What now? And then I saw the podcast had been released. And my first thought was, I'm going to have to listen to this. I'm not doing it tonight. So I got the video ready, hit publish, said goodnight to a couple of you because I was literally one eye open ready for my shut eye, and then decided today was the day. So I pushed back the video I was doing today to do with Harry's revenge again and again and again. So what I first noticed this morning was the fact, yes, I had had several cups of coffee, that even the brief trailer which appeared advertising Meghan sitting on a couch wearing lots of nude colours. It was a gross coloured couch. The couch actually stood out more than Meghan because it reminded me of that outfit that she wore when the dress code was blue and white for, I think it was Prince Louis's christening, and Meghan wore the same kind of turdy green. A little bit of a darker, more nastier booger green than what I'm wearing today. But she's sitting there, obviously with the big headphones on, talking about herself. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Literally 53 words were this trailer. 53 words, I counted it. Me, myself, I'm, and the whole trailer was basically Meghan talking about how she's going to share her side of the story now that she's telling it from the other side of the media's lens. There's that word, one of the word salads that always springs up. So it's come as no great shock that the entire podcast is actually Meghan, in some amazing way managing to talk about Meghan the entire time. And Serena basically had a starring side role, as did Harry. Much like they featured Archie in the one podcast that they did beforehand, Harry had a rather embarrassing pop-in. Like this wasn't all planned, obviously. Oh yes, well, I'm finally getting round to the podcast, Harry, but please just pop in randomly to the room where you can see there's lots of staff and production people where I'm filming. So Harry popped in, stuck his head round the door and said, "Oh, I love your hair, great vibe." Yeah, man, yeah, dude. He's really getting in with that California vibe, isn't he? But you were just like, oh, cringe. So straight away, I can feel my back teeth going. So I knew this morning, get some serious chewing gum on the go, because I swear by the end of it, I've got broken chips. I probably need to see the dentist. So the photograph that she's used for the Spotify archetype screams to me Calvin Klein ad, but it's just the way it's posed. It's quite clearly, bearing in mind this is supposed to be about stereotypes that hold women back, and cleverly called archetypes. So, but it's just the fact that it's quite clearly, it's going to be Meghan. It's going to be the Meghan show. Everyone said it and she did not disappoint. That is one thing that she is guaranteed to actually excel at. That and bashing the royal family. But one obvious thing that does scream out here, as I said, Meghan's supposed to be talking about, stereotypes that hold women back throughout, the years, various industries, various sports. She's got Serena Williams. Next one is Mariah Carey. So again, these are not the average sort of women that the normal person could relate to. Single mums struggling with things, or women trying to get promotions at work. These are multi-millionaires. Not only that, they're not exactly women that have been held back. Serena Williams is one of the most famous world champions ever to existed throughout the history of tennis. And Mariah Carey, who is a sonic boombox. She is what I would call a diva. She's up there, Whitney Houston, Cher. She is absolutely, truly iconic. And they're not exactly, as I said, women that have been held back throughout their life. So when I think back to the podcast again that they did with the Christmas one, what was that? That was Meghan and Harry talking to rich people, Elton John, for example, but it was basically their rich friends and people that they've, got associations with, talking about how they struggled in the pandemic, in lockdowns. You could not make it up. So it would seem this podcast is going to go down the similar sort of route. Now, needless to say, the podcast is being absolutely crucified all around the world by the media because Meghan has yet again made it all about her. Her sad tales of woes, the evil royal family, and how she's a victim. It must be truly exhausting. She was enslaved by the royal family, forced to work, nearly destroyed. But don't forget to call me Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. I'm royal, didn't you know? So watching the podcast, first of all, the tinny, awful music. Who picked that? That literally grates my ears. I've got certain pitch sensitivity, so I don't like a lot of noises going on when I'm concentrated on one thing. Like I couldn't read a book and listen to music. I couldn't watch TV while my husband is watching football scores on his phone. It just, woo! Go in the other room and now. But the first seconds that the video starts, the first seconds are Meghan opening with the Procter & Gamble dishwashing advert from when she was 11 years old, the young trailblazing Meghan that changed America for the better because she wrote a letter encouraged by her daddy and she appeared on a TV show, also actually sorted out and arranged by her father. And the worst bit of it is, the advert was sexist. And lots of people complained across the whole of America. And Procter & Gamble did change the TV advert. But as Meghan spins it, it was her one single 11-year-old self that managed to change Procter & Gamble for the better. So bearing in mind this first podcast is supposed to be her interviewing Serena, we don't actually hear from Serena until 11 minutes in. 11 full minutes. And trust me, it's a long 11 minutes. See, where it gets worse is there were no real sort of nitty-gritty questions about the struggles Serena maybe had, where she might have been set back for the things, the names, the stereotypes, the archetypes that people called her, competing against her sister. Did that have any effects on her ambition as she turned into an adult? Nope. It was all about Meghan, or as I'm going to call her throughout this video, Mimi. Meghan said, I'll be talking to household names about labels, but I know a thing or two about those myself. I hope that my lived experience will help other women to open up, to let them know that they are not alone in the world, because you've got Mimi. How has Meghan ever felt alone, given the amount of support that she's had? She had 2 loving families when she grew up. She had 2 or 3 loving husbands, plus their families, who gave her their, well, if you look at them, their souls, clearly. She had lifelong friends, a doting father, multiple in-laws, Trevor's family, Corey's family, Harry's family. She was surrounded by staff, by cast, by friends. I mean, she had a pretty active social life, let's be honest. Crew members, nannies, obviously once she had her children. And I'm sorry, but given her lifestyle, I say sorry, it's a British thing. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. But given her lifestyle, who is her audience that she's going to reach? Because it's certainly not going to be the normal sort of person with having issues like she's got, being a multi-millionairess for a start. And the problem is, Meghan's version of events, Meghan's version of herself are like a funhouse hall of mirrors. They're all Meghan, but every time you look in it, it's a different version of her. Now, where Meghan truly excelled in this podcast was every moment that Serena did start to talk about the subject, she was quickly back to talking about Mimi. Meghan complained she was so tired and waddled around in her pregnancy. She was under so much stress, which Serena agreed with. She looks like she was really, really struggling with her confinement and the torturous lifestyle that she was leading being part of the royal family. She certainly looked like she was having a perfectly lovely time when she was in New York with that £500,000 baby shower, all of the famous friends and A-listers coming to see her, and we're expected to relate to her struggles. She also brings up how she was made to feel that being an ambitious woman was a terrible, terrible thing, but that only happened to her when she started dating Harry. And I think that's because the majority of people could see that she had an agenda, and some people like to call the term, gold digger, maybe? Perhaps because she certainly proved everyone right that initially said she was going to do a smash and grab on the royal family like a royal looter. Sorry, Duchess. But the moment that Serena did actually manage to get a word in edgeways, because Mimi was over-talking her a lot of the time, she did start to say about the fact that public life, you know, obviously being under the public watchful eye can be really tough. Mimi was having none of that in a quick whoosh. it was back to her. So Meghan, now talking to Serena, turns around and says, when you have to see things that are mischaracterizing of me and you experience behind closed doors what has been painful for me, Mimi. I near enough lost a tooth at that point because I'm cringing. I'm having to listen to this, guys. And I was just like, Serena, just grab her and shake her and tell her to stop moaning about how I'm a victim, you're a victim. We're pretty lucky, successful women given everything that we've got. Maybe we should be talking about the things that might have held other people back or held me back at one point in my life, and look at my achievements. Look how far I've come. But no, it's a wallow self-pity party, but about Meghan. It's amazing how she can turn everything round to her. Even when she met Serena at the 2010 Super Bowl, you know, that we first saw when their friendship began, Meghan starts talking about, I saw Serena walking over and I wondered who was this person that captured her attention, and it was Mimi. Now, Serena brings up a really good point when she gets her word in edgeways again, and she starts talking about how male tennis players do not get the same criticism that female tennis players do when they are on the court and they lose their temper, frustration and stuff. And it's true. I have seen some shocking behaviour for the male tennis players. But the women, you know, the next day they're crucified in the media at being overly emotional, and it is a bit condescending. But the moment that she starts talking about something going, actually, that's quite a good point. There is definitely a bit of sexism going on there. Meghan turns it quickly on its tail back round to her. From my personal standpoint of being in a box with your mum and sister, watching you win and watching the pressure, I find it traumatising too. To go back to that moment where I feel you were treated unfairly and it was reported unfairly. Is she talking about Serena or herself? Because that to me sounds like she's going, I felt this way, but people reported on me in a completely different way. You know, you're meant to be talking about Serena, not you. And I do remember there were a couple of storylines that came out where Serena's team had asked Meghan not to come because of the crowd attention that it pulls, and she needed to be on her A game. Meghan had no problem leaving her newborn child at home and flew over to watch her in the US Opens, and Serena lost. So there was quite a few little swipes about that going, she should have stayed home. Maybe Serena was distracted about the amount of time that Meghan was spending with her husband, Alexis. Serena then got it back round to her and she started talking about mum guilt, which I'm sure a lot of women experience. And it was when her daughter Olympia fell out of her high chair. She climbed out and she fell down and she broke her wrist. And obviously, you know, it was really upsetting. They had to take her to the hospital. And the next day, Serena had a very important game and she had to go do it. It was her job. There are plenty of women in the world that have to literally leave their sick children to get up and to go to work, and it must be truly horrible. But that would have been another good subject to talk about, to divulge into, about, you know, how women are held back if they don't go into work because they've got sick children. But no, Mimi, sensing her chance like an Olympic gold winning medalist, she decided to bring it round to her with a very dramatic storyline, which worked because all of the media, across social media, worldwide media, picked up on it. Archie near enough died in a fire. It's very, very cleverly done because it ensured that it trended, and it was basically drawing attention to Archetypes, the podcast. Meghan starts the dramatics by saying that Archie near enough died in a fire when they were in South Africa because his nursery caught fire. You hear Serena gasp, for which Meghan responds going, oh yeah, I can't believe I've never told you that. Nor can Oprah. Or probably Harry. Or what about Tom Bradby, who was actually there filming the documentary? You'd think something as big and sensational as your baby near enough died in a fire might have come up before. Which makes me think I'm going to put this under I think it's absolute bollocks. This is becoming quickly a catchphrase. I'll grow tired of it soon, don't worry. But yeah, so the story goes, they arrived in South Africa and they went straight to the housing unit that they had to stay in. The fact she uses the word had to and housing unit. A housing unit to me gives the impression of like a shared accommodation, something that's a bit beneath her. So it's a very, very poor choice of description for the British High Commissioner's mansion to say the housing unit that they had to stay in. So then she had to go off and give her speech, one of the many, many speeches that Meghan has given, you know, even though that she was silenced. And she stood on the tree stump and she was telling the world that she was there as their sister, as a mother, as a wife. And they got told, they got in the car afterwards, there's been a fire at the housing unit. What, said Meghan? Yes, a fire at the housing unit. What? This is Meghan literally relaying it like this. And you're just like, will you just get on with it, please? What? A third time, like she was repeating Oprah. Yes, a fire had started in the nursery because there was a space heater in there, whatever a space heater is, but a heater had caught fire. But fear not. Archie was with his nanny because she had got this sort of sixth sense that something bad might happen, and she had the baby in a mud cloth. The baby was not in the room. There was no smoke alarms as well. Bearing in mind this is a huge, lush, rich mansion, but there was no smoke alarms. But it's the way Meghan talks about it. She was like, thankfully the baby wasn't there. That was where Archie was supposed to be, like someone had arranged a sort of mafia hit job on him. And you think, is she implying that, that the royal family that someone wanted to harm Archie? Because funny enough, that's what the Sussex squad have run with. Okay, so now they've named their daughter after the woman that organised a hit squad to take out baby Archie with a hazardous fire. None of it makes sense, but it was just so dramatic. And then it gets better because this is when she's really turned it round to make a swipe at the royal family again. Everyone was in tears. Everyone was upset. The staff, it was truly horrific because, the thatched house that they were staying in almost caught fire with no smoke alarms, no fire crew. No one was notified of it. And Meghan and Harry were forced to leave the baby behind again to go on to their next engagement. Serena, now newspapers haven't picked up on this, but I listened to it. Serena goes, why didn't you take him with you? Meghan completely ignores her. I don't know why they haven't edited it out. I don't know if Spotify left that in. But Serena says, why didn't you take the baby with you? Nothing. Radio silence. Meghan then starts continuing talking about how she felt and how the optics would look. And you're like, we saw you at that next engagement. This is their next engagement when she was wearing the blue dress, dragging Harry around like a child. Look at them laughing and giggling. Do these look like two parents that an hour, 2 hours before had just found out that their baby near enough died in a fire when neither one of them were with him? You would stay behind. One of you would stay behind. As I said, this one, nah, sorry, I am smelling something and it's not roses. It was clearly done as another swipe to the royal family that they made her go to another engagement. They were forced to work, if you remember, despite her clearly looking completely happy, fine, hair change, makeup. I'm sorry, but I put this under the bullshit-o-meter. I just don't believe this one whatsoever. It was clearly just a dramatic story to get the podcast in the headlines, to make her beat whale noises. So the whole interview was basically Meghan finding a way to direct every subject back to her. Her feelings, how she felt, how she suffered, even when it's not her own story. She was the victim of the royal family. She still managed to get that in there. But the fact is, she was this poor victim throughout that's been held back. She's gone through all of this suffering. She suddenly switches between a fragile and delicate flower, a young mother unable to defend or stand up for herself, to then a trailblazing, ambitious, driven career woman who won't take no for an answer. As I said, she is a complete walking contradiction of herself. She is so unbelievably self-absorbed. It's fascinating to watch. This is why Meghan draws attention to her, whether you like her or whether you loathe her, because it is like I know it's bad taste to say this, but it's like a slow motion car crash happening, a slow motion train wreck. The podcast was meant to be about what women go through, and it's turned into what Meghan goes through. At the beginning, she's basically saying, and throughout, that this is going to be about her as well, or basically all about her. This is not the way that she's ever going to get people to change their perception of her. Majority of people have made up their mind on her. So there is one thing that Meghan never disappoints of, one thing that she can commit to, one thing that she absolutely excels at, and that is her amazing ability to make everything, every subject, and no matter even if the story is not her own and she's interviewing someone else, she can make it about her, how she's a victim, and even getting a swipe in there for the royal family. She is truly remarkable in that sense. She should get an award for it, because I have never seen anyone with this ability being able to spin everything back round to Mimi. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be back with you very, very soon. As I said, I'm going to be talking about Harry's book and all of the leaks that are coming out about the potential revenge he's going to get on, well, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Tell me your thoughts. Do you think Mimi should stick? And I will see you really soon. Take care for now. Bye.
If you would like to buy me a coffee, please go to my About page and click the link. Love, Taz.